So the reason why I say that is because I think to your point, which I think is really valid, I think the next generation coming up, the generations after them are far more ahead of the likes of me in particular. I'm not going to say you because you live in this world, but the generalist, as I call myself, right? They are far more ahead. My daughter used to edit her whole day, film it, and edit it on the way home on the bus. And I'd watch a video of what she did for the day, right? I didn't have editing skills at her age to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
she's just learned that because she has a Mac or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think there are certain things that the kids are really, really advanced in. What I don't think people have grasped is that we don't yet know what we don't yet know. And we don't know what types of roles we yet need. If you take someone like the Ocados of this world, they know they can pick your shopping 10 times faster with a robot than they can with me. So there's no point having me. So when we look at society and we look at what we need to do, there's going to be a whole group of people that won't necessarily have the jobs that they think that they're going to have growing up. They're not going to be there. So what is it that they're going to do, and how are we going to get fit and get ready? And I think there's also something, sorry, just to interject, there is something about is it the silver surfboarders or something like that they call us now? But that 50 to 70, or maybe even 50 to 80, because we're living longer, right? We are actually embracing change at a faster rate than some of our 30 and 40-year-olds. We are embracing technology at a much faster rate because we recognize that if we don't have a future. So that's the other side of it. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because it affects different people in different ways.
Absolutely. And the second point, so one is my disagreement with the Stephen Bartlett quote, but the second thing, and to be fair, I don't follow Stephen Bartlett. I don't think I've seen any of his podcasts.
I saw it on an advert, which made me listen to it. That's all.
Right. The second thing, the point that you made was this point about agility, and that is that I think AI is one of these leveling of the playing field kind of transformations where large companies that have lots of risk control, lots of governance, lots of bureaucracy, they have pockets of organizations that maybe resist change and pockets of organizations that adopt and drive change. And that's normal in any population. When you have a small business, like we're talking, businesses of 1, 2, 10 people, you can be way more agile and you can incorporate a lot of this stuff to maximize your throughput and your output and your processes and your effectiveness and your value chain in a way that bigger businesses potentially can't. So this agility point, I think, is something that is potentially a game changer, because I was, whatever platform I was looking at, it might have been Insta, I don't know, but it was going through like Midjourney. I'm going to get all the figures wrong, but bear with me. It was going through something like Midjourney had like 200 million revenue with 30 people, and another platform had 100 million with 5 people. So it was going through basically big figures, small people. And I can't remember all of the figures, but what it was saying was AI companies that are starting up are really making revenue, but they don't really have the headcount or the footprint that other big businesses have. So it's kind of a leveling of the playing field there, I think. But back to change. So how do we cope with that? And you've mentioned the thing around the career for life versus being agile. Does that affect anything around? So I remember when was it? It was maybe 10 years ago. I was in a company, and there was a training course or something where they were talking about the concept of a psychological contract. This kind of, it's not the written contract that you have, but it's the loyalty that you feel to an employer, the loyalty that you feel to a particular organization. You want to be there for a particular amount of time. And that's to some degree driven by some of the societal pressures around, well, you want to be in a certain place in your life at a certain point. Things like mortality and fertility rates and replacement and universal basic income all drive people to go and work for particular reasons. And therefore, they have loyalty in terms of stability and all of this stuff. That's quite a lot of, stuff, human factors that effectively may change in this new paradigm. So how are you seeing these kinds of things change, and what should we be doing about these things?
So thank you for that. First of all, I think they are changing drastically. In fact, at our last conference where you were on the panel, we actually did 2 sessions on the changing face of HR and the unretiring, how to unretire. Because if you haven't got a growth strategy, if you haven't got an age strategy, you haven't got a growth strategy. I think that's what Lindsay Simpson left everybody thinking. So to try and break that down, I think that what's really interesting about the generations that are coming in now is, so take someone like me, you go into Marks and Spencer's, age 16, the general view of the world at my time of my life in the 80s was you absolutely would never leave. And if you did leave, you probably had to go back, which, by the way, I did, because nobody would employ you because they just assumed you were sacked. Okay, you took a job for life, and in return, you got a whopping great big pension. At the end of it, you got a lovely, stable career, and you knew where you were. You could get your mortgage and all those lovely things. And sick leave, maternity leave, whatever leave, you ended up having it. The world's changed, and now what we're seeing, and in fact we're talking about it at the summit that I'm putting on next week, which is March 27th, depending on when this goes out, but there will be some recordings people can watch back if just by chance they've missed it on the podcast. But what I will say is that the difference now is, first of all, the generations that are coming in don't see life like that. So they see it as a means to an end, and employers therefore don't give the benefits. And also, we're not in a world where we can offer the benefits that we used to offer. Discounted mortgages, health insurance, pensions, etc., etc. It doesn't work like that anymore. So by not having the benefits to buy into, you therefore don't get the loyalty. In fact, I had this conversation with a girlfriend the other day who told me that her daughter had taken a job knowing that she was going to leave the country in 6 months and move to Canada. Well, the cost for the employer is huge, really unfair. But her view was, well, I got the job, I'll just do it for as long as I want to. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think the other thing we're seeing is that people will really look at your purpose when they come and join you now. So it's really about, what's your purpose in the world? How are you looking at the world? How are you making an impact in the world, socially, environmentally, sustainably? All of these things, again, are about the intergenerational differences that we are seeing in the workplace. And then layered on top, dare I use the word D&I, because at the moment it seems to be a dirty word, and I can't bear that it is, but I really can't bear that it is, because it will be terribly sad to see so much of it undone. But that sense of, have I got that lens? Am I making sure that I'm inclusive in everything that I do at work as well? So we don't get the loyalty, therefore we don't give the loyalty. We don't pay people as well. We have 0-hour contracts. It's tough. And if you get some of that, then you generally, like, the law firms will give you a lot of those things, for example, but then you never go home. You don't have a life.
Yeah.
You sign up for life to be working big time.
Yeah. I mean, I go back and forth on some of this stuff because I've worked for big, small, and in the middle companies throughout my career. And it's one of those things that there are necessities of life. Why do you need the job? You need the job to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, and you go to an interview and usually you'll be asked, well, why do you want to work for us? And you're expected probably to say, because the values of your company are so amazing that they really resonate with how I personally feel on something. But
yeah.
It's almost a dirty word to say, well, no, I want a job so I can make money to go and live my life. And that's what you're saying is kind of the flip side of that, where you say, as an interviewee, as somebody who's applying for a role, maybe I'd be vetting the corporations that I apply for based on their track record, different things. So that's quite a shift in terms of the power dynamic that maybe also shifts back and forth depending on what the economic conditions are. So if the job market is suppressed, then the balance of power is over with the employer. If it's the other way, then the balance of power is with the candidate. So
I think at the moment, the balance of power. Sorry, Ash, I'm so sorry there's a delay. I apologize. Do you want to finish your sentence? My apologies.
I expect it to go back and forth, is what I was going to say. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. But I also do feel, when I grew up, I'm still growing up, but as I grew up, there was a sense of, you only do your traveling and all, go see the world and all of that malarkey when you retire. Okay, and then you have this bucket list and you hair around the world for 2 or 3 years, and then you come back and think, right, done that, now what? And there's that whole third generation of life, which is not for this podcast, but that's a whole other thing, right? But my point is that I think that the way certainly my kids think, I don't have to do what you did. I can work a bit, I can play a bit, I can travel. I've just had a VA. I know I said I didn't have a VA. In my last place that I worked at Women in Change, We had a VA that literally sat with a backpack on her back, traveled around the world, and did all of our administration. And that's how she funded her trip around the world, which is good luck to her, and worked for us most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So, but that was, I'll take the job, but I'm going around the world, and I might sit in an airport one day on a conference call. I couldn't have done that growing up. Yeah, if I said I might sit in an airport before my plane takes off. So that's the difference now. That's what we're seeing. And I think values,
Yeah.
which we haven't spoken about, sorry, but I do think values really play a part in all this as well.
So on the values point, because values are a reflection, I touched on values, well, I did quite a lot of values when I was doing my PhD, and the values are a reflection of conditions. So you can have attitudes and you can have values which are slightly different. Now, you would expect to some degree that these are affected by the problems that a society faces. So